Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to When We Walk. This is a little podcast where we discuss the things we all ask as we walk through life. I'm Micah.
And I'm Shireen.
All right, let's chat.
So, first, let's introduce our producers today. We've got Naomi back there. Hi, Naomi.
Hi,
Naomi.
how are you guys?
Great.
Good.
Awesome.
And Joran.
Number 14.
I always think, I said it before, what are we drinking in our...
Oh.
Well, some of y'all have mugs, some of you don't. I'm drinking chai today.
I did a little from our little coffee machine downstairs. I did a little cappuccino.
Oh, you went cappuccino.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. It's like a little milk, but no sugar.
Oh, okay.
But it's like powdered. I mean, because it's a machine.
I know, it's one of
like,
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's still good.
It's
Mine
fine.
is it's really sweet. I bought it, and now I'm like, I wish I had made my own this morning, but I didn't have time. So it's like too sweet for me.
yeah,
But
nothing like homemade chai for you.
nothing like homemade chai. What are you ladies drinking?
Ice water.
Nice.
Well, you're pregnant,
Very
so you're just
responsible
saying
of you.
very healthy.
Yes.
Good
Are
for
you staying away from caffeine?
I'm
Water?
not,
No.
but I'm really bad with water. And so I tell myself full water bottle
There you
and
go.
then coffee.
Okay.
Oh,
Wise.
you won't drink coffee until you've drank a full bottle of water.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Smart.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
What time of day do you get to your coffee then?
It depends. Some days, I get to my coffee in the afternoon.
Oh my
But,
goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Today,
Could not wait
I
that
should
long.
be getting to it in the next 10, 30 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm doing
wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
I
Way
do
to
like
go.
the rapid fire version of that. I drink like a huge
He, like,
glass of
guzzles.
water in the morning, like just down it, and then I'm all coffee after
Yeah.
that.
It has to counteract the coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, Jordan, what do you got? I know you don't have a mic, but
Yes, come over
what
here.
is it?
A little Red Bull, the pink
Oh yeah.
Pink Red
Our
Bull.
daughter would be
What
on board
flavor?
with that.
wild berry.
Okay.
Nice.
Red Bull Energy. No coffee for you.
Not today.
Okay.
I usually do. I just didn't have time to make it this morning.
Okay, so the Red Bull was the drink of choice. Great. That's great.
That's great.
It's good to know how we all start our days. Okay, I was on social media. Well, I took a break, which was really nice. But
You did. How long was your break?
I did like a week off.
Nice.
Remember we
That's great.
do the Mike Kelsey, who's a pastor in, I think, D.C. or somewhere. He does a day a week, right? A day a week, a week a month, and a month a year to take off.
Away. Yeah.
So for me, that's Sabbath. And then I haven't been consistent with a week a month, but I just thought, you know what, let's do it. Feels right. And it was so great. But there are things that like I do feel
What
like
do you
I
mean
miss
by
out
it
on.
was so great? What was just one benefit?
I feel like I have a clearer mind. Like it's not, I mean, sometimes social media feels like a lot of white noise in the
Yeah.
background constantly of your brain.
Yeah.
And you're watching people and you're listening to things, and those things can fill my thoughts.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when I take a break, it kind of quiets my brain a little bit more. So then I have better focus in my life. So like I feel like I have more, like I go to work, I just do my work things. I talk to the people that are literally right around me, or the people I'm texting with, and that's it. And then I have more space. I realized I have more space when I came home to be like integrated with our kids and really engaged in what they're doing, saying. I didn't feel like I had all these extra
Yeah.
voices.
good.
I don't know.
I like that. That's
Anyway.
great. Way to go.
So, but what I was saying was, before I got off, I saw this trend, and I saw it first with like friends, and I think Jordan even said it before because we were talking about it, more like roommates, and it just kind of was funny. But this trend called "We Listen and We Don't Judge."
Okay.
Have you seen it?
Nope.
You haven't. Okay.
No clue.
You guys, should we try it?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
The problem is you're supposed to share something
Okay.
that the other person doesn't know about you, right?
Okay.
Make
Okay.
sure I'm right on this because I'm still sometimes an old lady when it comes to these trends. But it's sharing what you what someone doesn't know. And
Yes.
and it's kind of an unpopular
and you
thing or
can't
something
judge?
shocking, and then they can't judge.
So like you can't make comments back to it. You just
No, you can't make
listen.
a comment.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you want to try it?
How about I ask you first?
You don't ask.
Oh.
You just say.
What do you mean?
So I'll say we
Okay.
listen and we don't judge.
Well, that's what I mean.
And then I'll
Okay.
say something.
Okay, great.
That
Fire
you
away.
might not know
Okay.
about me, which is really hard in marriage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very hard.
Very hard. I mean, I could do this with a friend probably a lot easier than
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Fire away.
I have one. This might be unpopular. And I might get a lot of judgment from other people, but I'm going
Whoa.
to say it.
Wow.
We listen and we don't judge. Sometimes at home, I do not wash my hands after I go to the bathroom.
Oh. Wow. Didn't know that. I'm not supposed to say anything.
You can't
right?
judge.
So it's the end of the conversation.
When I'm in public, I always wash my
Yeah.
hands. But at
But
home,
I know you well enough to believe that if you're cooking, you do.
Oh, 100%. If it's
Yeah.
something that like I'm moving on to something
If-
that I need to.
yeah.
I mean, I always wash my hands before I start cooking.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and in between
You
all
need to
the
try
time.
that little salt scrub we got.
Okay, if I'm in our downstairs bathroom
Yeah.
with our fun salt scrub, I
Yeah.
will use that
Nice.
because it makes your
It's
hands
nice.
really
It's
soft.
like baby soft. Yeah.
But okay,
That's good.
now you have to do it.
Okay. Speaking of judgment,
So you have to say we listen and we don't judge.
we listen and we don't judge. Last night, you were taking a shower and doing your hair, which is a whole thing.
long
And
process.
so I knew like I'd just kind of be hanging out in the evening, and I ate really well yesterday.
Oh yeah,
And I
'Cause we've
was
been trying.
really craving like sweets and stuff. And I thought to myself, Shireen won't be like watching TV with me tonight, so I can have more sweets than I usually would on a Monday night, because I was worried about getting judged. And so I had 2 bowls of kettle corn popcorn. It was
Oh,
great.
that doesn't count, does it?
That's very mild.
That is so mild.
Okay, all right.
Two bowls
Right.
of kettle corn. If you would have told me I like pounded a whole
I was
bag
going
of
to.
Oreos, I would have been like, "Yeah, I'm judging you." But
I was going
2
to
bowls
do
of
ice cream,
kettle corn.
and then I
is-
veered towards
is don't
I
judge
feel better
light.
now. Wow, I like this game. Okay.
I don't
so
know if you have it.
I don't have it down yet.
Here's the thing with this game.
Okay.
You have to be a secret keeper.
Yeah.
I mean, really? Or like not super close. I mean, so that's the
Yep,
hard part. Is
gotcha.
like we share everything and about each other. I literally
I'm trying
cannot
to think of
of
something.
anything else. I mean, the hand watching thing felt pretty like you could judge me on that pretty hard.
Okay.
And you did 2 bowls of popcorn. That feels so unfair.
That's scandalous. 2 bowls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Scandalous. Okay. All right. Do I need to try again? I don't know. I'm trying to think of something.
It's okay. If you don't have anything, maybe we can circle back at the end. And if we have things, we can try. But
Okay.
here's why I brought it up. Because so when I first saw the trend, I thought it was fun and cute and thought, oh my gosh, we should do this. I should do this with Laylee. That would be funny because, you know, our lives aren't as integrated, or like a friend. But when I read more about it, like I was reading about the trend, I read that it started with marriages. So
Okay.
people who were married shared things, shared secrets is what it was. And I was like, oh, this sounds
like current
like
secrets or like way in the past?
Either.
Okay.
I was like, and some of them on TikTok were doing it live. I don't know. Did y'all see these?
On live?
I think
you?
some of them were doing them live is what I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
I
of the
didn't think you
clips.
were on
I'm not on
TikTok.
TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. You can call me out.
How's that work then?
If that was going to be one of my don't judge, it's not. You can still
Do
see
you have a
video.
second phone that has TikTok on it?
You can see TikTok videos without having a TikTok account. Like you can just like
Oh.
when you Google and a TikTok video
Okay.
comes up.
Gotcha.
And people will post their TikTok videos on YouTube and stuff.
Okay.
So, but I think it was more like live because people wanted to see like live reactions so they didn't edit
Yeah.
and that kind of thing.
I like that.
You do? Because some of them are pretty scandalous.
Oh.
And I thought,
Like,
oh my
confessing
goodness.
affairs, or
I didn't read or see any of those, but things like here's what I realized. I did not realize how much we don't keep secrets with one another and how much so many married couples do.
Okay.
Like, I think one girl was like, yep, I've been getting Botox and you didn't know. And he was like,
how did he not notice?
How did he not notice?
Like,
and
the bank account and the lips. Was it on the lips?
Botox is for your.
What are the
like
lips?
fillers.
Okay.
I think. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't do any of it.
Oh, I can see why he didn't notice that then.
Yeah. So he probably didn't notice. Like her fine lines are
Yeah.
gone. You know.
Yeah.
But the fact of like, he was so shocked. There were some that were more like, we're about to get, hey, we're going to talk about marriage, so I'm just going to give a little PSA if you're listening with little kids. Some of these were about their physical intimacy. So like, I've faked an orgasm or, you know, things that were, you know, confessing something they don't like. And they're confessing this on social media, live TikTok.
The things we do for.
And that's what I mean,
follows.
so I was reading this article about it, and it was actually a counselor that was giving input into this and how kind of dangerous and damaging this can be. One, you're doing it public because you feel like, yeah, okay, we're playing this game about not judging, but two, like, you think you're safe to tell these secrets here, and what you're really doing is like causing this, you know, world of we keep secrets with each other, you know. Anyway, it just got me thinking of like, oh my goodness.
Popularity's not that hard.
What do you mean?
Popularity's not that hard.
No, I know.
Like you can get it. If you're willing to just
say whatever,
you can get popular.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that some of it is like, you look at that and you're like, oh, did they say that just to be, you know, to get clicks and shares and whatever.
Yep.
And maybe some of these couples that are more like influencer couples doing it. But then when you think about even the idea of it, that's what got me thinking.
Being fun and funny for like lighthearted stuff. But
Right.
when you're like if you're like going to confess like sin,
I know,
or deceit, that feels like maybe there's another environment.
but
for
it
that.
kind of begs a bigger question of like, first of all, there's a lot of things in marriage you can talk about, but I thought a couple of things. One, there are a lot of marriages with people who are comfortable keeping secrets, even smaller things, which can be, you know, I spent this much money on Amazon and you had no idea, or I hit all the boxes before you came home from work, or, you know, there are things like that. And so, you know, people are comfortable keeping, if you're comfortable keeping smaller secrets from one another, what is that? You know, we know that can grow into bigger things. But then also, like, just the lack of, I don't know that I would call it intimacy, but lack of connection and safety in a relationship. And I know that's not hear me out, that's not like what this is saying in the big picture, but it does
it gets you thinking
about
about the state of marriage.
Yes.
And the health of marriages.
The health of people's marriages. If that is a common thing for people to see, we keep secrets from one another. There's not that. I mean, the fact that you and I cannot think of anything to share.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the question for today that we want to dive into is related to that. What is the biggest challenge facing marriages today? What do we think is the biggest challenge facing marriages today?
I don't know. There's so many things.
Yeah, I think it maybe like what you're sharing kind of fits into that a little bit, because I mean, having thought about this question a little bit, you could talk about busyness.
I think that's a thing.
You could talk about just kind of social pressure to try to do everything well, you know, and so sometimes marriage gets pushed to the back burner because it's not as, you know, in some circles, healthy marriage isn't as exalted as being successful or having happy kids or a nice home or whatever. So sometimes that could get pushed kind of to the back. But I don't know. I think one of the things that a thread I've noticed in marriages these days is our perceived right to independence.
Ooh.
I think really infects marriage over the long haul. Is maybe
that's
how I
good.
would say it.
I even think just that little video trend speaks to that, right? We want to
In what
be
way?
independent, and so we keep some
Yeah,
secrets.
that's true. Yeah.
Because I don't want this person to get a say in this part of my
Yeah.
life.
When we still
Right?
kind of feel like we
I mean,
have
that's
this
kind
right,
of.
yeah, this right of like, well, I'm still me and you're still you. Like we're still two separate human beings.
Right.
We're just living under the same roof and within the same vows, And so, yeah, I can see the mentality of independence kind of feeding a life of secrecy.
It could.
Because just because I'm married to you doesn't mean
You get
have
access
a right. You get access to
all
everything.
of who I am.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the independence thing is both. I mean, it can lead to crisis, and or it can just be like a subtle, kind of wedge that exists in a marriage that never fully allows it to come together in the way that God intended.
Yeah. I think that's good. I want to ask Naomi. So Naomi is like a newer married.
How long have y'all been married?
How long have y'all married?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Okay.
Nice.
So, we're talking about this idea of independence. And I think to someone who's more newly married and how the joining of your independence, how has that been for y'all? Have y'all found that that's kind of what the tension is at times, like wanting to live your own life?
I'd say early marriage for sure, because you're just starting out and
Yeah.
it's like the tension. And
Yep.
I was also living in a previous state for over a year before we got married. And
Yeah.
I only had 3 months to adjust.
Yeah.
And so there was definitely like a lot of like, I'm no longer independent anymore. Like I have
Yes.
to do everything together. Like
Yep.
everything, even like bank accounts. We have
Yeah.
the same bank account. Like
Yep.
joint
So
account.
true.
And so I feel like there is a tension, but now it just feels natural.
Does
Okay.
it? Yeah.
Okay.
That's a pretty quick adjustment. It might not feel like it, but that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think that it's a good to hear like from people who have just been newly married, because it is this like, especially if you've never lived together, if you've really, tried to kind of do it the traditional way, the way, we would say that God designed us to, live independently and then come together and join as one. And it can be jarring, for people who have lived that way.
Yep.
And I think it's supposed to be, because it's supposed to like remind us of like, wait, my life is not my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the leave and cleave concept.
Right.
That the two become one. And we talk about this all the time with premarital people, that in premarital meetings, that, the goal of marriage, like your shared goal moving forward should be intimacy in every
Right.
area, like oneness in every
Right.
area. Just
That's God's design. Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it from that perspective, I think it sets you up for success in the future. I think it helps you, even like what you're saying, Naomi, is like some of the early spats you might have, if you can realize like, okay, this is a oneness issue. Like we're still
That's
wrestling to become one here, because I'm fighting for me and you're fighting for you, or, we're trying to keep some things separate that don't need to be separate. It's always surprising to me when we talk to people who it piques their interest when we talk to young couples when we talk about sharing money.
Yes.
Interestingly
Yeah,
enough, I
it
don't
does.
think we even thought twice about that.
No,
when we
that's
entered
all
into
we
marriage.
knew.
But depending on how long you've been single, that can be a hard thing. Sharing time, and that time is like how you view your time is a great litmus test to your perceived right to be independent.
Oh, that's
Does that
really
make
good.
sense?
Yes,
Because
it's
if
true.
you still view your time as your time, and it's not for you to take away from me, it's mine to give you when I want to give you, but it's not for you to take away from me. Like that's a good, that should be a little indicator of like, ooh, I'm still a little,
Yes.
still a little
Self-focused
independent,
on
still a
this.
little self-focused. So time is often a struggle for a lot of young couples. But I also think it's the 20-year creep. Now that you and I have been at this for more than 20 years, and many of our friends have as well, is if there is a sense somewhere in the marriage that we're still kind of we're one family, like we share one last name, but we're not like, we don't have to share everything. We don't have to be connected on every level. Usually over the course of about 20 years, that starts to bear some challenging fruit. And
you think more in like, it's like you start to feel like confined and you're ready to like break out of that, or
yeah,
I mean, you and I don't feel that tension near as much. I don't feel like.
No, I don't.
But
think
I
we
think
do.
maybe.
But
other
I think
people
if
do.
your mentality going in is there's still a lot of things that are mine that just because we're married you don't really have access to. That might not be an issue on the front end, but will often become an issue down the road. So, for instance, parenting. Let's just, once kids get in the mix, changes everything. And so, kids don't have no concept of your time being your time.
It's true.
Like everything you have in their mind
Is theirs.
is theirs.
Yes, that is true.
And so, so when kids get into the mix and you start kind of wrestling over, and you're feeling the loss of time and freedoms that you're used to having, the way that you and your spouse battle through that often will come to the surface.
Yeah, that's true.
And rather than advocating for each other, like, hey, how can I give you some space? Are you saying, how can I give you some space? When we find ourselves having to fight for, I'm just going to, I'm taking a break because I can't handle it. Good luck, kind of a thing. So that's just a small indicator of how I think I think so many marital issues, both the short-term ones that we feel at the very beginning and the long-term ones that creep in down the road, find their root in
Wanting
the
independence.
lack of, in independence.
I mean, I think some of that is societal, right? We've had such a shift from, I think of, I can't remember what book I read. I don't know, maybe something about community or something a couple years ago, but thinking about the shift in our society of, I know people have talked about I don't know when it was, but like kind of the Industrial Revolution time of when we started. I know this sounds like it's not going in the right place, but it is. When we started gaining kind of, in a sense, technological advances. So things that make life easier so that you can have more time to do some things that you want, right? So it used to be families did the farming all together. You were in this lifestyle together or whatever. And now you live in the city and the husband works and the wife stays home. And then, all these technological advances that like let the woman have more space and time so she can do these other things. And now women are working out in the home. And I'm just saying this is just the cultural story, at least in the West. And what that has led to is this like independence. Like I want to go after the things that I want in life. The world has created space and time for me to do that, like all the conveniences of the world or whatnot. And so I think some of it is just our kind of cultural narrative that has just evolved over time based off so many different things that created where we are today, for better or for worse.
Yep.
And we still have this mentality. I mean, I remember feeling it even in our marriage. We kind of more fell into me staying home with kids.
Yep.
It was kind of just out of necessity. Your job was demanding in ministry. I was looking into getting into nursing, but we didn't have money to pay for childcare. That's like a real struggle for so many people, that tension of, do I work and is it worth me working to pay for childcare? And for us at that time, it wasn't. And we just didn't, we didn't have family here. We didn't have help in that way. But I remember seasons of you coming home and me being a little bit jealous, a little bit frustrated.
Yeah.
And maybe you can say that was some of my desire for what I wanted, whether that's independence or It's just like, I remember even asking you, what about me? Like, I have dreams and things too that I put on a shelf, and like,
Oh yeah, I remember.
and
that.
we had to wrestle through that that season, and I had to settle a lot in my own heart with the Lord of what in this season He's called me to be home with my kids, and now I look back and I'm grateful. But at the time, it was a tension point for us in marriage, very much.
Yeah.
And I think we would say it was kind of around that idea of who gets to go after their dream.
Yeah. I mean, we had.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. We had so many things in our lives now, our marriage, our job, my job, and our kids, that like how to hold all of that in tension was, it was beyond what we knew how to do.
Yeah.
And what I wanted and what you wanted became the point of contention.
It really did.
And the independence thing of like, well, I should be able to fulfill my calling where I should too.
Yeah.
I've got things in my heart I want to do too. And it really is. Marriage just has a way of confronting our need for independence. I mean, it just will confront it on some way, shape, or form. Whether it's our time, our money, our dreams and desires and vocation, like it will confront it on some level. And I would even say for me, like I had to be okay. I remember I would often say in that season when I was a young adult pastor, I'm like C+, maybe B-, young adult pastor. Like I had to give up what I thought, some of the fullness of what I felt like I could and should be doing as a young adult
How
pastor.
much effort and time you could put into it.
To be present with y'all. And so, we both had to be willing to give a little something.
For sure.
And to come together around that. So.
Do you think, we're saying it in a way that sounds in some ways nice, but it's, I don't know, maybe it's the world's words of independence.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's a part of me thinking how much of this is just good old selfishness.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of the same?
It is.
Or a little bit different.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
Right? How much of it is it, I want my independence versus how much of it is I'm still being selfish?
That's really true. I mean, that's a great point. I think it was actually Naomi, your father-in-law, who I was having a conversation with recently, who just said it. He has a way of just saying things real clearly. And he was like, I mean, let's be honest. All marriage issues are rooted in selfishness. And that's true.
Ouch.
That's probably,
it's probably more true than we want to admit.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to say it.
Because do you think it is just our nature? Like we are just naturally selfish, self-centered people. I mean, we see it in children, and it's kind of something we try to work out of them over time. But yet the world is telling them, go after your dreams, be independent, you can do this. Yeah. And in some ways we are training our kids to be independent. Like I love that our oldest, she does everything on her own. Our kids do their own laundry now. And like, we're really training them to be independent. And so not dependent in those ways, in marriage, but I'm just saying like, so in some ways independence is good and right. But then if it moves more towards selfishness and it creates that, and you keep that as you get older, the world tells you, treat yourself, whatever. Yeah. And then you take that into marriage. Yep. That's kind of danger zone.
That is. Yeah. And marriage will confront all of that.
It will confront it. And you get to choose if you let it work it out in your heart or not.
Yep.
Because if not, then we've seen it too often. It leads to destruction.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And that's tough because, this could be a whole other topic, but like the flip side of that, when you start phrasing it, along the lines of selfishness is therefore, if I have to just constantly give, serve, die, surrender, like that can actually become toxic on the other side of it. And then you find yourself in a loveless marriage where you've lost all sense of like
sense of self
and
the extreme can be,
and then you find yourself feeling like, well, I have to exist in a loveless, toxic marriage because my only other choice is to be selfish and to speak up for myself. And so there is a lot to this that can be unpacked.
Right.
but I do think the root of it often is that selfishness. And so then I would say learning how to avoid that extreme then of like, well, I guess I just got to die to me. I mean, I remember you and I, these early on, talking to people about this who were kind of mentoring me, and I had such a struggle just communicating clearly with you, like here's kind of what I think I need, or here's what we need, or here's because I was so trying to just like, I just got to serve, I got to give, I got to surrender. And I don't say that like in a holy way. It was almost like it was an unhealthy way of doing it. And
because we think sometimes, I mean, there is a little bit to it. I remember that movie. It was one of those Christian marriage movies that came out forever ago. The Love Dare thing. Oh yeah. Do you remember that? And I
remember Love Dare. I don't remember the movie.
Well, there was a movie around it. It's kind of like,
is this
if
Kirk
you
Cameron
outserve
kind of a deal?
something like that.
Okay. All right.
I can't remember who it was. Someone will remember. But like, if you
Love Dare. Look it up. Love Dare.
Oh yeah, look up who it was.
I need to remember this.
I don't know if I would
brain
promote that movie yet because I don't know how I feel about it now.
I remember like the little journal and it's like,
but
do one
what the
thing a
idea
day,
was
or-
is you are going to try to outserve
Who's the cast?
your spouse. Is it Kirk Cameron?
Looking, I can only find a book right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is. It's a book. Okay, the movie was not called Love Dare.
Oh.
The movie was
it called Firefighter?
Firefighter. I don't know. There was something because he was a firefighter.
Yeah, it's called
It's Fireproof.
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 Come on.
We got there.
It was
Thanks
filmed
to
in
Naomi.
South Georgia back when we were down there.
Is Kirk Cameron in it?
Cameo at
It
least?
looks like, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So we weren't wrong. We do have a good memory.
Fireproof.
Fireproof.
Yes.
I think he was like a firefighter or something.
Fireproof
Anyway,
your marriage.
but
Yep.
the idea is I can like outserve you and like love you so well in this way of serving and loving and submitting that it will win you back. And there's some truth to that, right? I mean, that is in a sense what Jesus did for us, right? If marriage is supposed to be a picture of that. But also people have agency and they free will, and sometimes that doesn't always translate.
Yeah, it's so true. And you can like, I think I'm now like thinking about our early marriage days and like some of the struggles you and I had with selfishness, me more than you.
Oh,
and
I don't
think
know.
even in my
right up there.
attempts to like serve, can you even say it this way? I was selfishly serving. Like I was
you were trying to win
doing
something.
it because I felt like this will please God if I do this, or this will keep peace in our marriage if I do this, or this will, this is what a godly husband should do.
Right.
So I'm just going to do it. There was a lot of like shoulds, like,
Right.
and it was almost like selfish servanthood. It wasn't real servanthood. I wasn't genuinely like wanting to serve you. It was like, I felt like I just had to because it was part of what we had signed up
I didn't
for.
know that when you did, unless you were
I
huffing
remember.
and puffing
No, because I remember
because there were times
I remember. That's what I'm thinking of is us having that one conversation where I was like, and I've done this, and I've done this, and I've done this, and you were like, yeah, but because I was talking about like ways that I felt like I was like trying to bless you and serve you, and I was mentioning
definitely
things
could
around
see
the
you
house,
were not-
and you were like, yeah, but you do all those things with such like resentment that it doesn't feel like a blessing. And that was like, that like pierced me in such a good way of like, I was selfishly serving.
I think all of us do that in some form.
Yeah.
And our kids do that when we ask them to do their chores,
but
of
they're
course.
kids. Yeah.
But I think there still is like, I think if you move in a direction, hopefully at some point your heart will follow. Like your motive wasn't 100% pure, but you knew at least like, I think these things will, move. This is at least the direction I know I probably need to go. I just need to get my heart kind of to follow.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that's an okay thing. Like that is the idea of the Love Dare. I think that's why it was so profound. Is like,
it's like do these
start
things and your
doing
heart will
some
follow.
things,
Yeah.
and hopefully, there's scripture about that. Like, you want to move in the direction that is still following the way of Jesus, and hopefully my heart will follow.
Yeah.
I think we just always have to be on guard of what our heart is the posture of our heart and all of that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's wrong.
No, I think what triggered my thought when you're talking about love dare, and I don't remember all the love dare stuff, but was like, if I'm doing this to win you back, there's still kind of a selfish
It's
motive there that becomes like, well, and then if you don't start responding to me properly,
because then you'll get,
and that's what was happening in you and I early on. And
it really does have to be selfless.
It eventually get there.
Yeah.
Where you're truly serving to bless the other person.
Right.
Not from what you're going to gain from the other person, or not because how pleased God's going to be with you. And I think, again, marriage, when you stick with it, we'll have a way of confronting that.
I think it has
each layer of selfishness. And there are different layers, right? Some of it's the way we act. Some of it's then in our attitude. Some of it's like down deep motivation. But marriage will have a way of kind of confronting each layer of our
and in
of our
different seasons,
over
because
time.
it's been that way for us in different seasons. It was me at home with kids, and I was, what about me?
Yep.
I feel stuck here. And then in now seasons of us working, it's there have been times where like, who's working? Who's the most tired? Who gets to be the most tired tonight and not have to do the thing or whatever, and that is another
the most about their day,
right?
So they get to be the one. Yeah.
Because it's still that fight for independence in a way, to be seen and heard and not lost in this marriage. But I do think we have to go back to, okay, so that's the problem. There is some solution of
let's give
making
a tip
some
or two.
steps. But I think, one, you have to go back to big picture. What is the purpose of marriage? And marriage is I am giving myself away. It is, we always talk to young couples when they're first starting or in premaritals, and you always ask the question, what do you like about the person? And to a T, we always say things that make me feel good.
Make our lives better.
Right. Like the things I like about you that make me feel better, because I still see this as about what can you bring to me. When you enter into marriage, that actually flips. Like your vows, you are saying vows of what you will do for someone, not what you're going to do for me. Right. And so it is a complete shift from dating to marriage, where dating is this pattern of, ooh, do I like that person? How do they make me feel? Whereas marriage is a 180 turn.
Yep.
And it is a giving away of self, which is supposed to be an example of Jesus, right? It's supposed to be Jesus in the church. It's Jesus giving himself away for us. It's him dying. I mean, all the examples in scripture, you think of Ephesians, or anytime, Paul talked about marriage, it was about surrender. It was about submission to one another. It was about, I think of 1 Corinthians, even your bodies aren't your own anymore. Like, talk about, nobody likes to talk about that verse about marriage, of like, that is the ultimate sacrifice of independence. Like, my body's not my own anymore.
Yeah.
It is now belongs to someone else. That is the level of oneness and intimacy that God is calling us to in marriage. It's not about
and that's a radical
me being
concept
happy. It's about me giving myself away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you have to start there first.
You do.
You have to go back to, what is marriage?
Yep.
What did God call marriage to be? What is my call in marriage? Not worrying about the other person. What is my call? My call is to give myself away to someone.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and the goal isn't I get married so that you enrich my life. We get married so I can enrich yours.
But if we're
you have
both
the same
doing
mindset,
it,
then we both do that
absolutely
for one another.
That's that mutual submission. That's that it's mutual. It's this coming together.
Yeah.
So that's a big picture.
Yeah.
Help you.
And I think one way to go about that then is thinking about all this. I'm reminded of this quote. It's going to feel like out of left field, but I'm going to tie it all together. But a guy named Thomas Cranmer, he wrote the Book of Common Prayer. This quote that a buddy of mine shared with me recently that I've just been thinking about over and over, where he says, what the heart wants, or what the heart desires, the will chooses. And what the will chooses, the mind justifies. So a lot of times as humans, we think, like, we land on a particular perspective on something and we build a case around it and we think that must be true. But there's usually a heart connect. I think we've talked about this before.
We probably have in some way.
And so I think even in this, it's true to think, okay, what the heart desires, the will chooses. What the will chooses, the mind will justify. So maybe part of transformation towards a more selfless love is to kind of start with the mind and work backwards.
That's
and
good.
so just making the decision and beginning to, as you said, understand what is the purpose of marriage. Let's start there with the way we think about marriage is important.
Yes, has to be.
So this isn't about you enriching my life. It's about me enriching yours. And then the will chooses. Okay. So how can I choose to align with that truth that marriage is intended to be two coming together as one? And so it maybe at that point it's making choices, like kind of the love dare concept of like, I'm going to choose to bless you today. I'm going to choose to serve you today. I'm going to choose to surrender something today or to sacrifice something today. And as you do that with a desire to be a blessing to the other person, I think then it can begin to transform the heart.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And I think if you do that early on, it can avoid big crisis down the road. Because usually big marriage crisis doesn't come out of the blue. When you do a little, like when you do a little investigation, when people who are in crisis and you go way back, you can usually
start going
see
backwards.
like this started 10 years ago. This didn't start yesterday.
Small choices that people make. And usually it is small choices that you made for your own independence, your own self. And you spiral in that direction.
Yeah.
So,
good.
something to think about. I think whatever the step is that you're choosing to take, you always tell all the couples we've ever counseled, intimacy is everything. And that's not just physical. That is a oneness.
Yeah.
Intimacy means oneness of like body, mind, soul, spirit, all of that. And that's what we're joining together. And so if your steps you're taking move you more towards being intimate and connected with one another, I think you're going in the right direction.
Yeah. It's true. And I think this is great insight for regardless of whether you've been married 20-something years like us or whether you've been married a couple or whether you're not yet married and you're trying to think, you're dreaming of the day it'll happen. Like to have, like do a little thinking around what's the purpose of marriage.
Yeah.
And
I think you got to start,
Yeah.
Yourself introspection of like, where is my heart and how much am I self-seeking right now? Or how much am I being selfless?
Yeah.
And maybe take steps that direction, and it'll help your marriage. Daily small things and big picture too.
Okay. I love it.
It's great.
Okay. Well, this is hopefully helpful for people.
I hope so.
As they chimed in on this. As we chimed in on it. And
Okay. So when we're talking about like loving each other well or serving each other, what is, this actually isn't about loving or serving, but like right now, sounds like a fun date night?
Oh, nice. You know what? Like getting away sounds like a fun.
That's not a date night.
Like just like
a one night away.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about it yesterday. I was like,
are you going to plan one?
Yeah.
Ooh, I hope
not,
so.
But I did have the thought run through my head. I was like going through our calendar, like, gosh, if we could just like,
I know,
get away to Kansas
Those are
City
the
for a
best.
night, just to have some real time to.
We've always said, like, if you
and-
can fully pull away from your normal swirl, it kind of helps.
Yeah.
I was going to say something different, mostly because it's becoming warmer. And I love when we can do some active things. I mean, we take walks. Obviously, that's what even spurred on this whole podcast. But I love our walks. But I actually have really loved when we can go and play pickleball. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, but it's a great time.
I'm so bad, but I just don't care.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun way to get exercise, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And you kind of get lost in it. And thankfully, you don't care that I'm terrible and have to chase after balls all the time. But even doing it with our kids.
Yeah.
But that to me is a fun day. There's a lot of places in Omaha where you can go play pickleball and then eat like in the same
That's true.
place.
We should do that.
We should do that more.
I don't think we've ever done one-on-one pickleball. We always play with our family.
Have we not?
Would you want to do that with me?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
You just asked me out on a date? Sounds great.
Would you
Let's
want
do
to
it.
do that with me?
Sure. Be great.
Is the bigger question because I'm
For sure.
terrible.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
Can always get better.
Okay.
And it's fun.
So
Okay.
we'll tell you how that goes.
I like that. It's good. Better answer than mine. More realistic than mine right
you
now
go.
for life.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
awesome.
thanks for joining us today on When We Walk, and hopefully this conversation was helpful for you. And we will see you next time.